Tonight, we walk not in the footsteps of lords or armored knights, but through the shadowed corners where unseen hands keep the castle alive. Before dawn breaks, the scullery maid scrubs pots with raw knuckles. The spit boy turns roasting meat until his arms lose feeling. The laundress plunges frostbitten hands into icy water. The night guard paces silent battlements while the world sleeps. Theirs is a story not of glory, but of calloused palms, aching spines, and resilience woven into the very stones. 10 lives, 10 days, one castle, yet each exists in separate worlds. If these quiet chronicles of forgotten labor ease your mind, consider liking this tale. Subscribe only if it truly brings you peace. Tell me in the comments, where do you listen from? What hour chimes outside your window? I treasure knowing how far these whispered histories travel. Now, breathe deep. Let the fire crackle. Dim your lights. We begin not with crowns, but with those who bowed beneath them. Morning, you're awake, not from rest, but because the stone floor has stolen every shred of warmth from your bones. Also, the cook stepped on you, twice. Such is the grand awakening of a scullery maid, unpaid, unwashed, invisible, unless someone needs a scapegoat or a pot scrub. You sleep by the hearth, warmth being a generous term for marginally less lethal than outside. Your bed? A burlap sack of straw that reeks of burnt grease, damp timber, and shattered hopes. Your shift, that single woolen garment serving as both uniform and pajamas, has seen boiling water maybe twice this year. Once, if we're honest, possibly never. You rise before the sun, before roosters, before God himself stirs. Why? Because every task preceding noble breakfasts, fires lit, water hauled, bread kneaded, falls to you. Technically, you share this honor. Practically, the other girls excel at vanishing when work is doled out. You, either too honest or too slow to hide. The hearth lies dead, embers cold. Disaster. A scullery without fire is a knight without armor. Pitiful, but still dangerous. Barefoot, your shoes dissolved last spring and now pad some drafty door. You shuffle into the pitch-black courtyard. Jagged flagstones bite your numb feet as you gather kindling too frozen to splinter. Back inside, you coax flames from damp wood and simmering rage. When fire finally crackles, you thaw fingers that resemble corpse flesh over the sparks. Now, water. The castle lacks plumbing. You are the plumbing. Wooden buckets slosh heavy on a yoke across your narrow shoulders. Trip after trip, arms burning, knees wobbling like overcooked noodles. And breakfast hasn't even begun. By the time yawning kitchen staff stumble in, you're on your fourth well run. No thanks, no eye contact. You're furniture with legs, that's all. The cook erupts into the room like a thunderclap in a foul mood. Already sweating, she brandishes a wooden spoon repurposed as a disciplinary tool. The stew pot's still crusted, she barks. Back to scrubbing. No soap. That's for nobles and sinners. You use sand, ash, and lies. The ash burns. The lies burn worse. Your right hand sports a hybrid of callous and chemical burn. The left? A horror show. The scullery is punishment disguised as workspace. No ventilation. The lone window is eternally clogged with soot. The air stinks of overboiled meat and something unidentifiable. Don't try. Most days, you hunch over basins, scraping grease, or swatting rats with a ladle. Speaking of rats, they rule here. You're just temporary staff. Mid-morning arrives. You gnaw a chalk dry bread heel hidden in your apron. A kitchen maid catches you, tattles, and now you're on latrine duty for a week. Congratulations. Later, you're promoted to onion duty, a fancy term for professional weeping. Chopping until your face becomes a waterfall, but no one asks why you cry. They assume it's your station in life. At noon, nobles take their first meal. You carry platters, step where instructed, and never, ever make eye contact. Nobles dislike remembering servants have faces or thoughts. You hold a pitcher for an hour without being asked to pour. Arms go numb, normal. Post-meal, you scrape trenchers slick with gravy, bones, half-eaten pies, and what might have been fish. Scraps go to the slop bucket. You're forbidden to take any, but maybe just one crust, one edge, just enough to keep standing. Afternoon blurs into evening. More water, more roots peeled, floors mopped, halls swept. Blamed for a dog vomiting in the solar, a room you've never entered. Doesn't matter. You were there in spirit. As sunset paints the sky, dinner prep crescendos. Louder, hotter, smokier, a dropped pot, a near fire slapped out with your apron. You're allowed to eat. A shared stew bowl passed between 5 girls. The broth hides 1 barley grain, a root fragment, and a mystery chunk. Swirl? Doesn't matter. It's food. Dinner served, you stand motionless. A background prop in someone else's pageant. Soaked feet, locked back. Hours without speaking except to mutter, "Yes, cook. Sorry, cook. It won't happen again, cook." Regardless of what it was. Night falls, more scrubbing. Bones cemented to pans. Hands shake now, not from cold, but exhaustion. Dismissed with a grunt, you crawl to your hearthside sack. The fire's glow is fading. You press close to warm stones. Your tunic stays damp. You reek of smoke, onions, and pure fatigue. Someone nearby cries softly. You don't ask who. Some questions have no good answers. You lie there, neither asleep nor awake, wondering how you got here. No one chooses this life. You were born into it. Your mother worked the dairy until her spine gave out. Your aunt laundered until river fever took her. Now it's your turn in the grand medieval inheritance. Suffering passed down like a ladle. No promotions await, no fairy tale rise to lady's maid. Just aging hands, slowing reflexes, and eventual replacement by someone younger, cheaper, less prone to nodding off upright. So you savor tiny victories. Kitchen rhythms, secret bread sharing packs, avoiding the steward's wrath. Gossip is servant currency. The chamberlain sleeps with a lady in waiting, or the choir boy. A red-bearded knight ate 5 figs and vomited into his helm. Likely true. Weddings and feasts mean triple the whirl. Nobles celebrate while you blister. Winter is cruelest. Coughing through shifts, wearing the same lice-ridden tunic for weeks. Bucket water freezing before you reach the kitchen. You endure because stopping means replacement. Because suffering silently is called virtue for girls like you. You had a name once. Now you're girl, or you there. Invisible, unspecial. Yet without you, the kitchen collapses within a week. No statues will honor you, no songs remember you. But you know the clean bucket from the mop water. You silence squeaky hinges with goose grease. You scour pans until they shine like coins you'll never touch. Sleep comes fitfully. Strange dreams of green fields or boats sailing away, or nothing at all. You wake dry-mouthed, heavy-limbed. Another identical day begins. No one notices, except maybe Lord Crump. You are the spit boy. Congratulations or condolences, depending on your tolerance for rotating slowly before open flames while contemplating life choices. Somewhere between 8 and 12 winters old, no one bothered counting. Small enough to duck under hearths, but old enough not to cry at every burn. Perhaps orphaned, sold, or simply outmaneuvered by persuasive parents calling this opportunity. Your throne? A stool if you're lucky. Your scepter? The iron spit you turn clockwise until someone yells otherwise. Too fast, too slow. Once accused of cheekiness for blinking excessively. The heat is unnatural, like living inside a half-baked loaf. Your cheeks stay permanently flushed, hair eternally damp. Tunic hem singed, smelling of every animal that ever died in this kitchen. Roasting duck once pleased you. Now the aroma triggers migraines. Burns blossom daily. The kitchen offers no sympathy, just expectations to dodge better. Blister your palm, wrap it in rags, singe off eyebrows, grow new ones. Faint? Aim for clean floor space. Breaks don't exist. The meat cares nothing for your exhaustion, nor the fire for sweat stinging your eyes. Nobles demand perfectly spun roasts, or heads roll, sometimes literally, depending on the steward's sobriety. Feast days stretch the spit longer. Whole pigs, deer. Once an entire swan requiring 2 boys to turn. Your partner, a lazy-eyed sadist who'd release the crank randomly to watch you panic. He vanished last month. Rumor says the kennels took him. You hope the hounds show mercy. Hours pass, knees numb, spine nodding. Once your foot slept so deeply, you thought it dead. The steward called you dramatic and pegged a turnip at your skull. Around you, chaos. Shouted orders, clanging pans. Servants colliding with oyster trays. You're the storm's eye. Unseen until the roast browns unevenly. Then, suddenly everyone remembers the turn boy. When the meat finally surrenders, you help dislodge it. Fat sizzling, grease spitting. Flinch, scolded, hesitate, slapped. Then on to the next roast, stew, or despair-scented cauldron. Time loses meaning. Your world is firelight and hunger. Sometimes, if the stars align, someone tosses you a bone. Literal, not metaphorical. You gnaw it furtively in a corner like a starved creature. Then return to turning. By afternoon, flames paint your cheeks scarlet. Lips crack, hands blacken with soot. Lungs wheeze like an elder's from inhaled smoke. Still you rotate. Upstairs, nobles laugh over clattering plates in halls you'll never enter. Rooms bright with clean rushes and soft chairs. You exist so they needn't. When feasting ends, your work doesn't. You ferry half-eaten meats downstairs, never tasting. Scrape bones. Scour the spit now heavy as guilt. A blister bursts silently under your palm. Then, cruelest jest. The Lord orders a roast for his hounds. The dogs will dine better than you tonight. Again. Late now. Tunic glued to your skin by grease and sweat. Hair stiff as parchment. Hands trembling from hunger as much as fatigue. Finally, pottage. A lukewarm gruel of boiled grain and apologetic turnips. You slurp it wordlessly in shadows. No one speaks. Exhaustion strips people to their bones. You clean tools under the steward's looming inspection. Any grease smear means scrubbing with your own spit, if lucky, or tomorrow's privy duty, if not. Night settles like settling ash. The kitchen stills. You sit by dying embers too sore to lie down, too wired to sleep. A rat scurries past, beyond caring. Memories surface. Perhaps you were a shepherd's son once, or your parents ran a mill. Maybe they still do. Maybe they forgot you. Maybe one less mouth to feed was relief. No exits exist here. Best hope? Becoming assistant cook by 20, if you survive. Winters are brutal. Castle walls bleed cold. Your hearthside post roasts one side while the other freezes. You rotate like the meat, a human kebab of frostbite and fatigue. No proper shoes, just rag-wrapped feet avoiding puddles. Knees pop like ancient door hinges. Fingers stiffen into claws from cold and burns. Can't tell if you're holding the spit or it's holding you. Your health? Gone. Coughs define you now. Skin peels from heat rash, then cracks from chill. You reek of scorched fat, sounds appetizing but repels everyone. One forearm so burned it resembles overcooked pork. No apothecary visits for you. Rub it with lard and keep turning. The kitchen hierarchy is unflinching. You rank beneath scullery maids, beneath the butcher's apprentice, beneath the egg-fetching boy. You're the bottom. Even the castle's laziest hound outranks you. At least it gets scraps. Sometimes the steward nods at you. That's your highlight of the week. In rare moments, you imagine another life. A baker, a scribe. But waking means smelling yesterday's fires again. So you rinse your face, adjust your sackcloth, and return to the flames. Because spit boys don't escape. They graduate to other servitude, or don't graduate at all. You curl by the hearth, arms hugging knees, staring into coals. Ever wondered what warmth without pain feels like? You wouldn't know. You've never felt it. Outside, snow falls. Inside, meat sizzles. And between them, forgotten, you keep turning. You are the gong farmer, the polite medieval term for professional remover of human filth. If it falls into a chamber pot, you haul it out. If it collects in the latrine, you dredge it back up. You are the absolute bottom of society's barrel, scraping literal waste from its pit. And somehow, this is an actual profession, one that pays better than most. But don't get excited. The extra coins come because no one else would dream of doing this. Your shift begins at night, not by choice, but because no one wants to see or smell you during daylight hours. You're banned from markets until you've bathed, not that bathing helps. The stench has moved into your pores permanently. People cross streets to avoid you. Children point. The air around you wilts. Your tools, a rake, a bucket, and a shovel. Your uniform, layers of wool stuffed with moss, a futile barrier against the smell. Your workplace, the cesspit, a fermenting hellmouth of everything the castle has flushed away for months. You descend. Yes, down. Ladder optional. Rope, if you're fortunate. The stench hits like a physical blow. A brick wall dipped in sewage and despair. It burns your eyes, coats your tongue, makes you question every decision leading to this moment. Breathing through your mouth, now you can taste it. The pit varies from ankle deep to knee deep in places, bottomless in imagination. You rake through strata of waste. Fresh deposits, bad. Older layers, nightmare fuel. A gray-black sludge that bubbles like it's considering sentience. Your shovel encounters, human waste, obviously, animal waste. Broken chamber pots. Fluids you'll never identify, the occasional dead rat. The very occasional dead, something else. Once you found a chicken, no idea how it got down there. You gave it a proper burial. Sometimes, if the saints smile, you find coins nobles dropped in their haste. These you pocket without guilt. You've earned them. Bucket by bucket, you transfer the night soil to your cart, an open wooden box on wheels that creaks with resentment. The air behind you curdles. If seen, you're met with gagging or prayers. Once a child threw a cabbage, you threw something back, no pride in it. Outside the walls, you dump the waste in designated fields. Here's the joke. That nobleman wrinkling his nose at you? He's probably eaten vegetables grown in his own refined waste. Medieval recycling at its finest. By dawn, you're rinsing tools in a half-ruined pond, scrubbing your cracked boots, trying to wash away the unwashable. Your neighbors avoid you. Some refuse shared tables. You tell yourself it's honest work, necessary. Without you, the castle would drown in filth within days. Winter is special torture. Waste freezes solid. Your hands freeze. Your breath becomes visible regret. You hack through icy crusts to reach the warm horror beneath. The only time you'll dread finding something warm. Summer brings different miseries. The stench grows wings. Flies mobilize. Wasps appear for reasons unknown. You sweat through layers until even your shoes squelch. You've tried every remedy. Vinegar just makes you smell pickled. Crushed herbs, now you're floral garbage. Mint leaves, a mistake on every level. Smells like a gong farmer has become a common insult. People assume you're stupid. They're wrong. You know, how to brace a ladder while hauling 40 pounds of waste up a rope. Which side of the pit is safest after rain? Which torch oils won't explode in methane pockets? That's science, or close enough. Here's the secret. You earn more than most servants. Not luxury, just a one-room hut on the town's edge instead of shared straw. The pay reflects what no one else will endure. At shift's end, you collapse onto a log, not clean, just available. You sleep outside when the smell clings too badly. Your wife, if you have one, insists. Your children say you smell like boiled cabbage and sin. They're not wrong. Your hands no longer look like hands. The skin permanently cracked, nails blackened beyond scrubbing. You've stopped trying. Soap costs more than dignity. Your nose is broken, not physically, but spiritually. Flowers, grass, firewood, all smell like rot to you now. If an apple cart passed, you'd swear the fruit was spoiled. The guards joke, "Don't fall in," as if it's clever. Once one shoved you near the pit's edge for laughs, you didn't smile. Sometimes you dream of being a baker or scribe. Then you wake, and your hands still smell like last night. So you rinse your face, adjust your sackcloth, and return to the pit. Because even in dreams, someone must carry the bucket. As dawn grays the sky, you make your final trip. The castle awakens oblivious. Nobles will relieve themselves into gilded bowls, never wondering what comes next. And you'll fade into shadows like the stink you carry. That's your role, your duty, your life. The gong farmer, cleaner of kingdoms, remembered only by fly. You wear shoes. This simple fact places you above 3/4 of the castle staff. Stiff leather curled at the toes, they squeak with every step. An unfortunate trait, given that silence is part of your profession. You are the Chamberlain's apprentice, which means you carry ledgers, memorize inventories, and pretend to understand words like protocol and accountability. Not noble, of course. Don't get ideas. But a servant with access? You enter rooms others only clean, witness things most peasants couldn't spell. Your day begins before the Lord's stir. You wake in the servants' hall, near the good fire, the one not used for cooking rats or heating piss buckets. A quick splash of water on your face, hair combed with fingers, tunic brushed clean with your own sleeve. Presentation matters here. First task, candles. You move through pre-dawn halls, replacing stubs with fresh tallow tapers, beeswax reserved for chapel and great hall. The cheap stuff smells faintly of sheep. As you work, you note anything amiss. Your secondary duty. Salt cellar low? Mark it down. Wine stocks 2 cups short? Investigate. Guest chamber pot full? Find someone else to handle it. Ah, delegation. The oldest castle tradition. The Chamberlain is already awake. He never sleeps. A narrow man with a nose like a quill and expectations sharper than any blade. He smells of ink and dried lavender, robes perpetually spotless. He knows mistakes before you make them. He speaks in lists. 2 bolts of broadcloth, 4 barrels of lamp oil, 1 visiting friar with dietary demands bordering on heresy. You nod, scribble, and pray not to spill ink again. Last time meant recopying a month's ledger by candlelight, while the steward chewed pickled herring directly into your ear. You are part clerk, part courier, full-time scapegoat missing linens. Your fault. Damp firewood? Your fault. Lord's hound defecates in the guest stairwell? Somehow still your fault. Mid-morning brings inspections. You trail the Chamberlain like a silent scribbling ghost as he taps walls for damp lifts bed, covers sniffing for mildew, samples wine like a sommelier of suspicion, sniffs rushes for improper freshness once you yawn. The punishment? Organizing dried peas by size and color. You envy no one here, except maybe the cook's dog. At least it can bark without consequence. Lunch isn't a break, it's a battlefield. Who sits where, who mustn't sit near whom, which Lenten wine incident reignited, which blood feud you carry. Seating charts, correct titles. Gentle reminders that Lady Cressida still isn't speaking to Lord Alric post-meal. The Chamberlain reviews accounts. You sit across from him in the solar, reading each line aloud. Wax, fish, salt, horseshoes, ink, wool, barley, mead, soap, barley again. The list never ends. Occasionally he quizzes you. What's the weight of a cask? How many loaves per stone of flour? Hesitation earns that raised eyebrow. You'd prefer a slap. Then come the visitors. Nobles from distant estates, wandering knights, cousins who somehow always between holdings. They arrive with trunks and egos and dietary restrictions. You, show them to chambers. Note which linens they receive. Pray nothing goes missing. You're also keeper of the castle keys, or more accurately, fetcher of keys. Armory wine cellar. That mysterious upstairs wardrobe key that fits nothing but mustn't be lost. They hang from your belt in a leather pouch. You touch them constantly like rosary beads. Losing them means a beating exile. Or worse, permanent latrine duty. Afternoon dissolves into logistics. Late herring shipment. Missing velvet bolt. Drunk priest. Snoring on chapel floor. Kitchen out of vinegar stables needing hay steward's opinions. You listen, nod, and draft responses in the Chamberlain's hand. Sometimes you write love notes. Yes, really. There's a noblewoman who communicates only through letters dictated behind a curtain while feeding her lapdog cream-soaked strawberries. You edit out the madness before delivering wax-sealed nonsense to a knight who blushes like a furnace with each unsealing. Evening means candle rounds again. Relighting, trimming, snuffing. The halls grow quiet. Nobles drink. Servants breathe. You exist between both worlds, invited to neither, but required in each. Guest chambers need final checks. Rushes fluffed curtains straightened. No unauthorized deaths, wine spills, or elopements. By now your feet scream. Your head pounds, and your fingers wear permanent stains of wax and ink. You haven't eaten since morning, but you won't until the Chamberlain finishes his supper and dismisses you. Sometimes he forgets. You wait outside his door for hours as he bores a page boy with youth stories. Your stomach caves inward. Finally, a dismissive flick of 2 fingers, you bow, murmur thanks, and retreat to the servants' quarters. Your bunk is narrow. The fire's out. Someone stole your blanket again. You lie half-dressed, staring at the ceiling, wondering, is this what power smells like? Tallow, ink, sweat, and lavender. You once thought working near nobles meant hearing secrets, learning power's ways. You've heard secrets all right, mostly about hemorrhoids, stolen pastries, and who finds whom insufferable. As for power, just more rules, more ways to fail. The Chamberlain calls it discipline. What you're learning is exhaustion, how to be invisible yet indispensable, how to be present yet forgotten. There's talk of promotion, maybe assistant steward someday. More likely you'll keep this up until your back fails or your eyes give out from reading numbers by candlelight. No pension awaits, just slower decline. Yet you persist because your work keeps chaos at bay. The castle would crumble without you. Someone must ensure the salt stocks match winter rations. And because if you stop, someone would notice. You drift off, counting imaginary barrels. You dream an inventory. The morning bell rings in darkness. You rise, stretch aching legs, and adjust those infernal squeaky shoes. Time to relight the candles. The cycle continues. You wake to the sound of hooves striking stone before dawn's first light. Not from dreams. The stable never truly sleeps. Horses shift below your loft, snorting steam into air so cold it hurts to breathe. You are the stable boy. This means you shovel, brush, haul, and get kicked regularly. But mostly you apologize to creatures who outrank you in both grace and nutrition. Your bed is little more than a shelf above the stalls, the thin floorboards transmitting every equine sound. Tails swishing, hooves stomping, the unmistakable percussion of something large defecating directly beneath your pillow. Pulling on the same stiff boots and sour-smelling tunic from yesterday, you descend the ladder into winter's bite. The cold greets you like God's own slap. Mucking stalls comes first. Shovel, pitch, repeat. Not glamorous, barely tolerable, but necessary before the master of horse arrives, unless you want split lips and lectures on discipline. You work quickly but carefully. Sudden movements spook the horses, and spooked horses bite, rear, and crush bones. 2 broken fingers and a hoof to the ribs that left you coughing blood for a week taught you that lesson well. Yet you love them, these animals. They don't lie, don't yell, don't pretend to be better than you. The stable smells of hay, manure, sweat, and horse. Somehow worse and better than anything inside the castle. You've stopped noticing the stench like normal people do. Now you recognize a healthy stallion's scent versus one with colic. You know nervousness by breathing patterns alone. After clearing stalls, you haul feed, heavy oat sacks, and hay bales lowered gingerly from the loft. One wrong move risks twisting your back like last winter when you nearly passed out from pain. The master declared you faking before hurling a bridle at your head. Feeding is its own delicate dance. The greedy ones will bite for extra oats. The shy ones need coaxing. The clever ones pretend disinterest until your guard drops. Your hands bear the scars to prove it. You pat necks, check hooves, whisper nonsense. They know your voice. Trust you more than any noble ever will. Mid-morning means grooming, currying coats, untangling manes, picking stones from hooves. You pluck burrs, wipe noses, and scoop more dung than you care to quantify. If the Lord rides today, you polish tack until it gleams. Not for his notice, but because the master checks. His disapproval leaves marks deeper than any whip. Sometimes, nobles bring hunting dogs into your domain. Loud, twitchy creatures with more pedigree than sense. You clean their messes too. No thanks ever come. When the Lord decides to ride, always last minute, the stable becomes chaos. You saddle his favorite gelding, the temperamental one that dislikes being touched. Straps checked thrice, bit wiped clean. Stirrups set absurdly short because fashion trumps function across all centuries. Then you stand statue still as he mounts. If the horse fidgets, your fault. If he slips in mud, your fault. If he falls and breaks a nail, still probably your fault. You'll hear about it for weeks. Between tasks, you snatch moments on a stool, sipping warm ale from a tin cup as dust motes drift like exhausted ghosts. Your jaw aches from clenching. Your entire body hurts simply from existing. But the horses still need brushing. Winter is pure cruelty. Fingers numb even in gloves, water troughs frozen solid, breaking ice with hammers, just for animals to drink. Your breath frosting the rafters, while nobles complain of chill from behind stained glass. You sometimes wonder if anyone upstairs realizes the stables lack insulation. Summer swaps frost for fire. You sweat through tunic, shirt, and sole. Flies swarm in biblical numbers. One old mare soils her bedding repeatedly. She senses bad weather coming before the sky darkens. You know this by how your own joints ache. At day's end, you close stable doors, hang lanterns, and check each horse. Noses rubbed, hooves inspected, water buckets refilled, smoke's neck, patted gorse's teeth, avoided willow's ears scratched. Only then do you climb back to your loft, peeling off boots to examine raw feet. Covered in dust, hay, and sweat. But no animals harmed, no fires started. That makes today a victory. Your supper is traded labor. Cheese from the dairy maid for mending her harness. Onion bread too hard for kitchen use. You chew slowly, legs tucked beneath you as torchlight flickers through cracks in the wood. Laughter floats from the great hall. Somewhere a lute plays. It sounds like someone else's dream. The horses below settle as you do. One snorts, another whickers softly. You lie back in straw that smells of mildew and saddle oil, listening to their rhythms. Your fingers throb, knees crack when you stretch. Your back feels fused into one solid plank. But you're alive. The horses are cared for. That counts. You think of stories told about knights and tournaments, how they never mention the boy who saddled the hero's horse, who calmed the stallion before battle. Once a knight tossed you a silver coin for steadying his mount. You still have it, not for spending. Proof you're not invisible. No illusions remain. There's no path from stable boy to steward, no magic horsebrush that becomes a sword. You'll never be a knight, but you know animals, truly know them. How to wrap wounds, calm foals, spot lameness before it worsens. You matter quietly. You've seen what happens to boys who break. They disappear one night after a whipping. No questions asked. So you work. Keep your head down. In storms, the stable leaks. In heat, the hay rots. In winter, your breath freezes on the rafters. But the horses remain, waiting, breathing, trusting. That's enough. Most days, you close your eyes to the symphony of hooves on straw, wood creaking, creatures who never judged you. Tomorrow begins again. You are the stable boy. The horses need you. Not for praise, there is none. But because they nicker when your boots approach. Because in a world of orders and lies, this is where you're trusted. Not for who you are, for how you move, how you speak, how you listen. And that rare trust, that's worth more than gold in any cast. You wake with a paw in your mouth. Again. It belongs to a turnspit dog, one of those short-legged, long-bodied creatures that look like sausages with existential dread. He's sprawled across your straw pallet, snoring softly, his fur matted with kitchen grease and what might be duck fat. You don't mind. He's warm, and frankly, he smells better than most of your co-workers. You're the turnspit dog keeper, the invisible bridge between noble cuisine and medieval animal-powered machinery. Yes, it's exactly as awful as it sounds. Your shift begins before the kitchen fires are lit. Rising with a back that cracks like winter ice, you immediately step in something wet. Hopefully water. Probably not. The dogs are restless. They know what's coming. You haul the first volunteer, a wiry mutt named Snipe, from the pallet. He nips your hand in protest. You deserve it. He's been on spit duty 3 days straight. The turnspit wheel resembles a hamster wheel designed by a sadist. Snipe climbs in reluctantly. The moment the gate latches, he begins his endless march. The spit turns, the roast rotates, and your real work begins. Timing rotation so the meat cooks evenly. Bribing dogs with stolen scraps, begging them not to stop mid-feast. Because if they slow, uneven cooking. The cook throws things, hot things, sharp things, deeply personal insults. If they stop completely, the spit jerks, meat slips, and suddenly you've ruined Christmas. It's May. There are 4 dogs in your charge. You rotate them like soldiers in a trench war. 2 working, 2 resting, if you can call twitching and whining rest. None truly recover. They just gnaw bones in corners while you massage their legs, whispering encouragement like a trainer of canine gladiators. You maintain the wheels too, not because anyone asks, but because squeaky mechanisms draw the cook's wrath. Learned that lesson last month when a mid-banquet squeal earned you a ladle to the forehead. Sometimes the Lord himself strolls through. He never addresses you, just nods at the meat and compliments its earthy flavor. That's your sweat, and likely some dog hair. You're welcome. Feeding them is its own gamble. They're not supposed to eat noble table scraps, but you sneak them grease-soaked crusts anyway. No one runs well on dried peas. The dogs reward your treason with loyalty, until one nearly takes your thumb off, like Guts did last week. Burns stripe your forearms like parchment creases. The kitchen is a year-round furnace. Smoke-choked in winter, hellish in summer. You've inhaled so much ash, your snot turns black. Your cough sounds like a dying bellows. Eyes permanently bloodshot, which at least hides the tears. You used to think dogs were cheerful. These are working beasts, bred for endurance, not affection. They don't want pats, they want your bread. And if meals are late, they revolt. Once you return to find 3 of them sitting in a circle, solemnly chewing your only shoe. No one trained you for this. You learned through trial, error, and blood loss. The stick in the corner, you hate using it. But sometimes they plant their paws and stare with eyes that say, I understand this is hell, but why must I participate? You've named them all. Snipe, the resigned veteran. Button, the anxious one. Morcel, quietly tragic. Guts, who lives up to his name. Guts only tolerates you when you bring bacon grease. Otherwise, he growls like a brewing storm and nips at your ankles. You suspect he sees the world exactly as you do, greasy, exhausted, and full of smoke. Once, a noble child wandered in, pointed at the wheel and cried, "Look, a spinning puppy!" You smiled. Then her tutor yanked her away, glaring as if you'd exposed her to something obscene. You didn't protest. You never do. Years of this life have changed you. Your posture hunches from ducking low beams, hands mapped with burns and calluses, knees that predict rain better than any weather vane. You're 17, but feel 70. You once dreamed of being a falconer, working with birds in sunlit forests, wearing fine leather gloves. Now you can't even hear songbirds over the constant drumming of paws on wood. On rare breaks, you sit by the back door with Marcel, the only dog that doesn't demand anything. She leans against you, warm and solid, while you stare at slivers of visible sky. These moments last maybe a minute before the bell rings. More meat, more spinning. No one thanks the dogs. No one thanks you. At night, you scrub grease from your arms with sand and prayer. Curled in straw, you listen to the dogs panting and the hearth's lingering sizzle. You dream of running. Not from anything, just running. The nobles prattle about rustic kitchen charm. They mean the decor, the roasted swans, the herb scents they imagine came from gardens, not from the barefoot scullery maid who harvested them in darkness. They don't know you exist. They don't know the dogs exist. If they did, they'd call it quaint, a detail for minstrel songs. The turning hounds of House Waxford, or some other nonsense. Once a bard claimed turnspit dogs, enjoy the exercise. You nearly choked on your own laugh. You've learned a terrible patience here. No arguments, no complaints. Just keep the wheel turning, feed the dogs, tend their wounds, scrub the grease. Hope today ends without blood. You've seen worse. Last year a boy got his hand caught in the gears. He didn't return. No one speaks of him. Hidden behind a beam, you keep a small cloth pouch containing a moldering cheese wedge, a flower-shaped button, Guts' lost tooth, a relic from his worst day. Proof that even the meanest creatures break under pressure. The kitchen screams around you, shouting, heat, the endless spin. Your bones ache, your stomach stays half empty. But sometimes, after a long run, one dog nuzzles your arm. And in that moment, you feel seen. Not by the castle, not by the cook, by something alive. And in this place, where fire never dies and wheels never stop, that fleeting kindness is everything. You wake before dawn to darkness and cold that seeps into your bones. Castle walls poured their warmth for better souls than you. The hearth's embers died hours ago, your breath fogging in the air above the rough blanket that barely separates you from the stone floor. Every joint protests as you sit up, yesterday's labor etched into your body like ink on parchment. Your hands already ache, though they've touched nothing yet. You are the laundress. This means water, soap, fire, pain. Dressing quickly, you pull on a damp wool kirtle that smells of smoke, tallow, and lye. The apron over it stands stiff with salt from old sweat and boiled linen water. A scarf binds your hair back. Cracked leather shoes swallow your rag-wrapped feet. You move like you're late, because you always are. The castle still sleeps as you gather yesterday's filth. Shirts yellowed with noble sweat, undergarments damp with fear, linen napkins stained with wine, or worse, one mistake, a shrunken sleeve, a scorch mark, a vanished chemise, and it's your hide. You've seen girls dismissed over tablecloths, nearly whipped for missing sleeve buttons. In the courtyard, the well pump groans as you fill 2 wooden buckets. Water splashes loud in the morning silence, soaking your skirts as you heave them onto a yoke across your shoulders. The wood digs into flesh with every step. Past the smokehouse, past the scullery, to the copper boiling pot blackened by countless fires before yours. Flint strikes, the kindling catches. Soon steam rises from the lye water, that caustic mix of hardwood ash and patience you prepared last week. You stir carefully. One splash left scars that still stripe your forearm. Sorting the laundry is its own ritual. Coarse linens, servant's garb. Fine linens, noble wear. Woolens, separate, never boiled unless you want doll-sized garments. The lord's shirts and ladies' underthings demand reverence. Not for what they are, but for what happens if they return imperfect. The soak comes first. Linen submerged in scalding lye water, stirred gently to loosen stains and stench. Then the real work begins. At the scrubbing stone, you kneel and grind soap into fabric. Black, harsh stuff made of tallow and lies. Your knuckles whiten as you work. The stone bites. The cloth fights back, waterlogged and stubborn. When you dunk it into the rinse barrel, the water clouds instantly. A small victory. The rinse water is cold enough to stop hearts. Fingers numb within minutes. You switch hands, clench fists, blow on them. Nothing truly helps. You think of the scullery maids, the wood carriers. They're cold too. The thought doesn't warm you. Just reminds you you're not alone. For the worst stains, you haul everything to the stream behind the outer wall. Here you beat sheets and tablecloths with a wooden paddle. Swing, smack, repeat, while icy water soaks your sleeves to the elbows. Knees sink into mud you stop feeling. Village washerwomen work nearby. No one speaks. The only sounds are water, wood, and weary sighs. Twisting linens dry wrings the last strength from your shoulders. Draping them over bushes or ropes, you watch steam rise, ghostly in winter, sun-chased in summer. Today, a stubborn wine stain finally lifts from the lady's veil. You hold it up, triumphant, until spotting a frayed hem. Another curse muttered, now you'll need to mend it secretly, hoping no one notices. At midday, your arms go dead with fatigue. By afternoon, your back knots like tangled yarn. Only when everything hangs drying do you permit yourself to sit on an upturned bucket, just to breathe. A crust of bread from your apron pocket, hard as chalk, stale as vows, becomes a feast as you watch linens dance in the wind. Collecting the dry things means checking for mist stains, folding crisp cold shirts, layering noble garments in baskets like armor. You'll deliver these personally, quietly, without eye contact or noise. Invisibility is your shield. The cook intercepts you at the kitchen door, shouting about missing cloths. Wordlessly, you hand her a bundle of rags. Her grunt is the closest you'll get to thanks. The Lord's solar is last. A servant takes the basket without acknowledgement. The door closes. Your hands are raw. Your neck screams. But nothing is stained. Nothing is lost. That makes today good. Returning to the yard, you douse the fire, empty tubs, rinse soapstones. A sheet lies half in mud. You snatch it up before anyone sees. Just a little dirt. You'll rewash it tomorrow. As sunset paints the battlements, you finally sit longer. Holding your hands toward the dying fire's warmth, you watch feeling return in painful pulses. Your nails are chipped, your fingertips peel, but they still work. In your apron pocket hides a scrap of linen, a torn towel you've been secretly sewing into a handkerchief. No time for that tonight. But its presence soothes you, one tiny thing that's yours alone. The servants' hall offers pottage and warm ale. You eat fast, eyes down. Then it's back to your pallet near the chimney, just close enough for warmth, just far enough to be forgotten. Tomorrow will bring water, soap, fire, pain. But tonight you sleep. You wake with a jolt, the butt of your spear slipping from your numb fingers. Only nodded off for a moment, you're certain of it. The brazier beside you coughs its last orange embers into the darkness. Rubbing your eyes, you shift on the stone bench that's been your perch for 7 frozen hours and peer through the arrow slit. Still night, still fog, still your watch. You're the castle guard, not a knight, not some sung hero, just the human obstacle that dies first if trouble comes. Your existence is measured in 3 acts. Stand, freeze, repeat. Tonight marks your second graveyard shift this week. Your knees sing a chorus of cracks as you rise. Rolling your shoulder wakes the bruise from yesterday's training, when the sergeant's wooden blade found your ribs with enough force to rattle teeth. He called it a learning moment. You called it something quieter. The rules are simple. Watch the gate. Walk the walls when the bell tolls report anything stranger than drunk nobles, and for Christ's sake, stay awake. You listen for the bell now. Distant, muffled, maybe 5 hours till dawn. The wind whistles through murder holes overhead, sharp as a whetstone. Pulling your threadbare cloak tighter does nothing. The wool was thin when your grandfather wore it. Your breath fogs in the torchlight, curling like smoke from a doused rebellion. You pace the gatehouse, 10 steps east, 10 west. You know each uneven flagstone, each slick patch of condensation. Out on the parapet, the wind redraws the map of your suffering. Your cloak batters your legs like a sail. Below in the courtyard, a lone dog noses around the kitchen door. Somewhere a drunk voids his ale near the barracks latrine, leaving the door swinging. You don't call down. Not your circus, not tonight. The portcullis chains are frozen, again. You chip at the rust with your glove. This is your head if it jams during an attack. The iron bites your fingertips even through leather. Day shifts are warmer but louder. Drills, inspections, noble brats playing at swords. Here in the hollow hours, you're forgotten, until someone scales the walls. Then suddenly, everyone remembers the night watch. Something scraped beyond the gate. Not a footstep, not quite. You're upright, spear ready, heart hammering. Silence. Probably just the gate settling in frost. Or a bird. Or your own tired ears playing tricks. False alarms are better than real ones. Last winter, bandits came. 6 starving men drunk on stolen wine thinking night guards napped. You sounded the alarm, held the gate alone until reinforcements came. One axeman almost made it through. Your spear found his ribs instead. He died gurgling at your feet. No one thanked you. The steward sent extra bread. The sergeant nodded. That was it. 3 sleepless nights later, you were back on the gate, bruised but trusted. That's the reward here, more work. Your hip grinds where stone meets bone. Years of leaning on walls leave marks. You've grown skilled at ignoring things. hunger cold. Noble sneers. The fact you're literally the first line of mortal defense. Yet pride lingers. Not the feasting hall kind, but the quiet certainty that these walls stand taller because you watched. Your gear tells its own story. Leather straps cracked, like old parchment iron studs dulled from years of wear. Helmet dented from that time. A drunk noble dropped a chamber pot from the upper gallery. You should replace it. You won't. It still works. Around you, other guards snore in their cots. One twitches, fighting invisible battles. You envy their rest. Lying on your side, you trace the mortar lines with tired eyes. A crumbling map of uncertain roads. Somewhere above, nobles sigh into goose-down pillows. Below them, you curl around your knife with a cloak wrapped over your boots, because frostbite is worse than odd looks. And still, if the alarm sounds tonight, it's you they'll send first. Because that's what castle guards are for. You close your eyes. For a few precious hours, the night can watch itself. You rise in perfect silence. Not because others sleep near you, they're long gone. The scullery maid curls by the hearth. The stable boy vanishes into straw. The cook's snores echo through empty kitchens. But your work thrives in the hollow hours no one claims. You are the night watchwoman. No armor graces your shoulders. No sword hangs at your hip. Your weapons are simpler. A flickering lantern and an iron ring of keys that could wake the dead. Fire, cries, strange footsteps in forbidden corridors all become your problems. Soft-soled shoes, patched quiet with cloth scraps, let you move like a shadow. Your wool dress hides extra layers against the castle's bone-deep chill. The lantern clicks once as it ignites, tallow flame dancing across stone walls older than your grandmother's prayers. First stop, the nursery. Two noble children twitch beneath embroidered quilts. You don't know their names, but you know. Which one runs fevers, which wets the bed, which will wake screaming from nightmares. You straighten a blanket and vanish. The Hall of Tapestries comes next. Great woven battles where dead knights stare with glassy eyes. Your flame makes their swords seem to twitch. Something creaks behind you. You don't flinch. Fear is a luxury unpaid servants can't afford. Library door? Locked. You check anyway. Last time it was left open, rats ate a manuscript and the steward howled for a week. The handle stays firm under your grip. In the chapel, a single votive candle fights the dark. You snuff it. Not from irreverence, but memory. Last winter, a stray ember nearly took the drapes. Your fingers hover over the iron candlestick until certain it's cold. The narrow stairway to the east wing groans underfoot. Your legs burn. This is your third round, and the castle sprawls like a drunken lord. At the solar window, you find the latch undone. Strange. These are secured after supper. You close it quietly. No need to report. The steward believes in ghosts less than he believes in servants' wages. The laundry room's steaming linens now hang stiff as corpses in the cold. A noble's cloak clings too near a wall torch, hem singed black. You sigh, tucking it under your arm. Another secret mending before dawn. The kitchen corridor offers gifts. A forgotten pot of onion broth, thin but warm. A crust of bread, stale but filling. Half a wrinkled apple, better than nothing. You dip the bread quickly. The cook pretends not to notice these thefts. Maybe pities you. Maybe once walked these same night paths. The Lord's solar stairs gleam in moonlight. You don't ascend. That world of feather beds and warm slippers isn't yours. You guard its underbelly. A baby wails in the servants' dormitory. You knock gently. The bleary-eyed mother accepts your flask of warmed water with a nod. No words needed. Castles breathe at night. The stones hum with centuries of lives. 1,000 women scrub these floors. Some long-dead mason carved these arches. The rushes remember footsteps you'll never hear. You don't feel small. You feel connected. Final rounds come as your lantern dims. The armory door sits ajar. Wrong. Heart pounding, you slip inside. Swords, pikes, axes all accounted for. Just a draft, perhaps. Or someone's carelessness. You bolt it firmly anyway. Back at your post near the kitchen hearth, you finally sit. The stolen cloak unfolds in your lap. Needle and thread appear from your apron. Your stitches are slow, but even. Years of practice. Dawn's first bell tolls as you tie the final knot. The cloak returns to its peg. Good as new? Almost. Your cot above the linen storage barely fits your curled frame. As you drift off, the castle sighs around you. Shifting stones, distant snores. The last embers crackle. There are moments in the deepest night when time stops. The walls whisper. The rafters remember. You've learned which creaks mean wind and which mean loose timber. The salt pouch in your apron isn't for cooking. Old cook Margaret claimed evil hates salt. Said to throw it at anything that doesn't belong. You've never needed to, but the pouch remains. That cold patch in the east corridor? You've always stepped over it. No one talks about why. Secrets aren't yours to keep, just to carry. Like the time you caught the steward stealing chapel candles for his rooms. The way he locked eyes with you. No words. A week later, a thick blanket appeared on your cot. No note. These are night's quiet trades. At the great courtyard window, you pause. Let the lantern hang low. Above, the stars burn cold and constant. Your mother said night listens to women who work while others sleep. Maybe it does. You've whispered wishes to it, practical ones mostly. None answered. Still, the watching comforts you. You straighten your apron, take a breath, begin again. Because someone always has. Tonight, as always, that someone is you. The castle never truly sleeps. It merely dozes between breaths, its ancient stones exhaling centuries of secrets into the damp night air. You move through these hollow hours like a whispered psalm, your lantern carving fragile circles of light in the eternal dark. Each step a silent prayer against the groaning weight of history above you. You are the keeper of midnight's ledger, the archivist of shadows. Every crack in the mortar tells its story to your calloused fingertips. Here, where the stones are stained darker, a scullery maid once carved her initials after burying a stillborn babe beneath the midden heap. There, where the groove runs unusually smooth, generations of stable boys have measured their growth against the wall. That blackened patch near the kitchen stairs, the lasting scar from the great fire during Lady Eleanor's wedding feast, when 6 servants died containing the blaze. The walls remember what daylight washes away. Your rounds take you first to the buttery, where the master baker's daughter meets the blacksmith's apprentice in stolen moments. Their muffled laughter and the scent of young sweat mix with the yeasty air. You adjust your path silently. Young love deserves its hiding places, and you've buried enough secrets to know which ones matter. The chapel's iron grill cools your palm as you test the lock. Inside, the scent of beeswax and old prayers lingers like a half-remembered hymn. You trace the grooves in the threshold, where countless knees have worn the stone smooth, some in devotion, others in desperate bargaining. At the servant's stair, a sound gives you pause, too heavy for rats. Lantern light reveals the steward's favorite hound, its muzzle glistening with stolen grease, eyes reflecting your flame like liquid gold. It blinks at you, unrepentant, tail thumping once against the stone. You kneel, scratching behind its ears, until the wagging threatens to topple you both. Some rules bend for warm hearts and cold noses. The linen closet smells of lavender and lies. You count the sheets by touch, 3 missing. No matter. You know which chambermaid took them, and why her monthly courses came early this moon. The spares from your secret chest beneath the cot will cover the lack. Let the steward rage at ghosts. You protect your own. Near the armory, the air grows suddenly still, your lantern flame guttering like a dying man's breath. The salt pouch at your waist grows heavy as a millstone. Your lips form old cook's charm without sound. Salt and iron, bind and hold as you press onward. The temperature normalizes 3 paces beyond. Some doors needn't be opened, some shadows best left unstirred. In the lower storerooms, you pause beneath the high windows where moonlight filters through warped glass. It transforms common flour sacks into silver-dusted treasures, turns pickle barrels into alchemist jars. For these few heartbeats, the castle feels enchanted rather than exhausting, its magic revealed only to those who walk the night paths. The nursery bell tinkles, once, twice. You arrive to find young Lord Thomas sitting upright, his nightshirt plastered to his narrow back with sweat. No words pass between you as you mop his brow with your sleeve. The tonic from your apron, a mix of honey, mint, and something stronger from the herbalist's private stock, goes down easy. His fingers, hot as fresh coals, cling to yours briefly before sleep reclaims him. You'll return at the next bell to check his fever. These unspoken exchanges are your true wages. The baker's nod when he leaves an extra roll in the cooling racks. The laundress slipping you scraps of soft wool for your chilblains. The stable master's selective blindness when you borrow a horse blanket during the cruelest frosts. The east windows blush with dawn's first light as you finally return to your niche above the linen press. Your palate welcomes you like an old lover. Its lumps familiar, its scent a mix of dust and your own sweat. As you peel off your layers, something clinks to the floor. The young lord's silver rattle, smuggled into your pocket during his fevered dreams. You turn it over in your hands, watching dawn paint rainbows across its etched surface. You'll return it tomorrow. Probably. Outside, a cock crows. Somewhere below, a maid curses as she stokes the kitchen fires. The great machine of day lumbers to life, its gears oiled with the sleep you'll never quite claim. You close your eyes. Just for now, let the castle keep watch over you.